What's up, everybody? FTWitachi here. You know what it is. Thank you all very much for tuning in to our updated guide for Destruction Warlocks. With a quick little overview, of course, Destruction Warlocks are a DPS spec, a damage spec with a primary stat of Intellect. It's a Master of Chaos who calls down fire to burn and demolish enemies, with the preferred weapon choices of Staff, Wand, Dagger, and Sword, and the main spells of Incinerate, Chaos Bolt, Immolate, Conflagrate, Rain of Fire, as well as Summon Infernal. We will also be releasing guides, if not out already, for Demonology and Affliction, updated guides for patch 9.1, so stay tuned for those two as well. We will also be going into Covenants for all three specs, Soulbinds, Conduits, and Legendaries, and once we've gotten over all of the core Shadowlands guides with all of the core Shadowlands content, we'll be going a little bit more in-depth in some other various guides. For example, Rated Battlegrounds PvP, Arenas PvP. We will also be getting into Mythic Core Keystone guides as well. This is all going to be based off of specific specs, so these will be individual videos that you will be able to stay tuned if you subscribe or you magically come across it in the search engines. But stay tuned for those ones. But without further ado, let's get into Destruction Warlocks for patch 9.1. Alrighty, everybody, so we're going to be starting off with the stat priority. Just to give you a heads up, these guides, the Destruction, Affliction, and Demonology guides, they're all going to be kind of like a starter guide for those of you that are, especially if you're brand new to Warlocks, but even if you're not brand new to Warlocks and you're looking for an idea on where to start, what to do, what to look forward to in this given patch, that's what these guides are going to be covering. Is the stats priority, the consumables that you should be looking into, your talents, and of course your rotation, so on and so forth. And then we'll be getting into the more deep details in the specific scenario guides that we will be doing later down the line. But this is basically the basic overview and the standard guide to each and given spec. But starting off again with the stat priority. First of all, in PvE situations, which is raiding, mythics, pretty much questing, all that type of stuff, you're going to want to, of course, go with your main priority stat of Intellect over Mastery, over Haste, over Crit, over Versatility. And then when it comes to PvP situations, it's pretty much going to be the same exact thing, but you're going to be bringing that versatility up the ladder. So it'll be Intellect over Versatility, over Mastery, over Haste, over Crit. Next up, we're going to be getting into all of the consumables that you should be looking into as a Warlock in general. For your gem, you're going to want to go with, of course, the Masterful Jewel Cluster. For your flask, you're going to want to go with the Spectral Flask of Power. For your potion, the Potion of Spectral Intellect. For food, you're going to want to use the Feast of Glutinous Hedonism if your raid group or PvP group, PvE group, whatever you're in, is offering that. Otherwise, you're going to want to bring in your own food of iridescent ravioli with applesauce. Sounds yummy in the tummy. Extras, we got the Shadow Core Oil as well as the Heavy Desolate Armor Kit that you can go ahead and apply. These do not remove any given enchants that you have on those slots, so you can just go ahead and stack those. For your rune, you're going to want to go with the Veiled Augment rune. For your enchant ring, you want to go with Tenet of Mastery. For your enchant chest, Eternal Stats. Enchant weapon, Celestial Guidance. Enchant cloak is going to be Vitality, which is pure stam. Enchant boots, you're going to want to go with Speed of Soul, and for Shadowlands, your boots enchants are going to be agility based. So if you can go ahead and utilize your Speed of Soul enchant. For bracers, this is going to be the Intellect slot of enchants in Shadowlands, so you're going to want to go with Eternal Intellect. And for gloves, it's the Strength slot for Shadowlands. However, if you have a Gathering profession, you can just go ahead and throw on Shadowlands Gathering. Alrighty, everybody, so we're going to be getting into the talents for a Destruction Warlock. It is pretty straightforward, especially comparing this to the Demonology Warlock setups. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the first tier of talents. We've got Flashover, we've got Eradication, and we've got Soulfire. In both single target and AoE, Flashover is definitely the go-to. It is much stronger than the other two talents in pretty much every given situation. Eradication and Soulfire, they're just two dead talents comparing them to Flashover, and Flashover is also a passive effect, so it's kind of nice to have that. Next up, we're going to be getting into Reverse Entropy, Infernal Combustion, and Shadowburn. Shadowburn has its usage in PvP situations. However, it has its usage. I'm not gonna knock it down. So you can use Shadowburn. Infernal Combustion is absolutely pointless, and then Reverse Entropy is pretty much your go-to in this tier in pretty much every given situation, especially in single target and AOE. Next up on the third tier, you have Demon Skin, Burning Rush, and Dark Pact. These are three situational talents, so it doesn't matter what you choose. I prefer Demon Skin because it's a passive ability, it has an absorption, and comparing that to Dark Pact long term, Demon Skin does absorb more damage. However, if you do know you're going to be taking a lot of damage, especially in a raid fight or a Mythic Keystone, you know there's an area where you just want to ease it off for your healer or ease it off for yourself, or you just want to sit in some shit. I know how you guys do. Go ahead and just pick Dark Pact. Otherwise, Burning Rush is also very, very nice if you want to get from point A to point B faster, and some fights do require that. So, a given situation, these are all basically priority based. Next up on tier 4, you got Inferno, Fire and Brimstone, and Cataclysm. These are your AoE based talents, and when it comes to damage, straight damage, Cataclysm is the way to go. And even in single target, you're going to want to go ahead and rock with Cataclysm over Fire and Brimstone and Inferno. Next up, you got tier 5 of Dark Fury, Mortal Coil, and Howl of Terror. Similar to tier 3, these are very, very situational, so it doesn't really matter what you choose. Howl of Terror is kind of dead anyways. I don't really like this talent. It should just be baseline, but it is a talent and can't do anything about it. But it is dead, and the only situation you can use this in is in pretty much a rated battleground, or a battleground in general. Otherwise, it's GCD, hectic, and it's kind of stupid. Next up is Mortal Coil, which is my favorite one out of these three, because it's very nice in PvP, especially in arenas and duels. It's also nice in crowd controls of rated battlegrounds. However, in PvE situations, of course, that extra CC in dungeons and mythics, and of course on a boss fight, if you need a defensive cooldown, that healing you for 20% maximum health is very, very nice. You won't get effect of the incapacitating, but that really doesn't matter, because that's not what you're using it for. It'd be nice to incapacitate a boss, but sadly you can't. And in Dark Fury, of course, if you're on a raid fight where there's ads, you need to slow them, you need to stun them, all those type of stuff, Dark Fury is definitely going to be helpful. Next up on the second to last tier, you got Roaring Blaze, Reign of Chaos, and Grimoire of Sacrifice. I don't strongly ever using Grimoire of Sacrifice as a Destruction Warlock. These first two talents are very interchangeable. When it comes to single target, you're going to be using Roaring Blaze. It is the better of the three talents. And then when it comes to multi-target, I strongly suggest going with Reign of Chaos, especially tagging that along with the Channel Demon Fire ability, so on and so forth. You could go Roaring Blaze with Channel Demon Fire, but I don't really like it too much. So single target, Roaring Blaze, AoE, Reign of Chaos. Last but not least, Soul Conduit, Channel Demon Fire, and Dark Soul Instability. Just like the other talents in this destruction spec, Soul Conduit is pretty much dead. You're never going to use it, you're never going to play with it. It's not really useful. Of course, an ability is always useful, but comparing it to the other two, it is not. In AoE situations, you're going to be using Channel Demon Fire, and in single target situations, you're going to be using Dark Soul Instability. So again, when it comes to Destruction Warlock single target, you're going to be going over Flashover, Reverse Entropy. Again, these are priority based, but I'm rocking Demon Skin at the moment. Cataclysm, priority based again, but I'm rocking Mortal Coil. And then you're going to go with Roaring Blaze into Dark Soul Instability. And when it comes to AoE multi-target fights, you're going to be going Flashover, Reverse Entropy, Demon Skin, but again, priority based, Cataclysm, Mortal Coil, priority based, and of course, Reign of Chaos and Channel Demon Fire. Alright, so PvP talents as a Destruction Warlock. PvP talents are kind of all over the place. Sadly, you can only choose 3. And I'm just going to give you guys a pass or a fail. Either you can use them or you cannot. Starting off with Cremation. Conflagrate deals up to 3%, additional 3% of the target's maximum health and fire damage if the target is affected by your Immolate. I'm going to give it a pass. No, it's very useful of a talent. So I mainly use Cremation in duels or arenas. And you know what? No, I don't use it. So yeah, cremation I usually use in duels or arenas. I have more of an AoE build for my battlegrounds, so yeah, that's just about that one. Bane of Havoc. Curses the ground with demonic bane, causing all of your single target spells to also strike targets marked with the bane. Last 12 seconds. This is very, very nice. I only use this in World PvP and rated battlegrounds. Never use this in duels and arenas. I have a totally different setup when it comes to minimal targets and a lot of targets. So next up, we got Bane of Fragility. Reduces the target's maximum health by up to 15% for 10 seconds. This is the first talent I'm going to say an absolute hell no to. Next up, we got Nether Ward. Surrounds the caster with a shield that lasts 3 seconds, reflecting all harmful spells cast on you. It's a defensive cooldown. I mean, it's situational because you're only going to use it against spellcasters. Don't use it against a rogue, my G. But yeah, it's up there. Essence Strain, technically another defensive cooldown, but I don't like it for Destruction Warlocks. Affliction Warlocks, sure, but not Destruction. Whenever you heal yourself with Drain Life, the enemy target deals 5% reduced damage to you for 10 seconds, stacks it to 5 times. I just don't like it. I don't. It's kind of dead for Destruction, I'm going to put it that way. Casting Circle. Summons a casting circle for 12 seconds. While within the casting circle, you are immune to silence and interrupt effects. This got a buff, actually, but it's still trash. It had an unending resolve problem, but it's still trash. Demon Armor. Protects the caster, increasing maximum health by 5%, and increases armor by 160%. I like this, especially over Essence Drain, and it's pretty much your go-to if you want a defensive cooldown or against melee classes. And so you're not using Nether Ward, you're using Demon Armor. But I just prefer Demon Armor over Nether Ward in any situation anyways, even against casters. Gateway Mastery, sadly, is a cool ability, but it should just be freaking mandatory. Just give it to us permanently. It shouldn't be a talent anymore. Increases the range of your demonic gateway by 20 yards and reduces the cast time by 30%. Reduces the time between how often players can take the demonic gateway by 15 seconds. Like, come on, mate. There's a trash talent to choose if you're comparing it to everything else. Next up, one of the new teams, and I love it, Shadow Rift. Conjure a Shadow Rift at the targeted location in the last 2 seconds. It's very quick. Enemy players within the rift, when it expires, are teleported to your demonic circle. Must be within 40 yards of the demonic circle to cast. Well, that's the only and negative part, but it's still really fun to play with. World PvP, you're probably not going to use it much unless you're absolutely trolling the brains out of whoever you're casting this on. For example, demonic circle, you put it on the side of a cliff. Shadow Rift, they get ported to the circle, they walk off the cliff. You emote, and you have fun. That's Shadow Rift. Otherwise, Eye of the Storm, bangers. Work it out with a freaking druid or a shaman to get the knockoffs galore. It's basically Death Grip, but for warlocks. Bonds of Fel. This is also new, and I don't know what it does. First time learning this one. Encircle enemy players with Bonds of Fel, snaring them by 50% for 6 seconds. If any affected player leaves the 8-yard radius, they explode, dealing 7k split amongst... Oh, that's fucking pro. So you'll only use this in World PvP and rated battlegrounds. Never using this in arenas, I'll tell you that much. Actually, that is bangers. Using this with my Oh, dude, no. Rated battlegrounds, that's like my go-to now. I'm gonna have to give it a go, but I'm not gonna say it's trash. Fell Fissure. Chaos Bolt creates a 5-yard wide eruption of Fellfire under the target, reducing movement speed by 50% and reducing all healing received by 25% on all targets within the fissure. Team this up with Bane of Havoc in rated battlegrounds and World PvP, and you have a nightmare for the other team. Damage is on top tier point. Again, everything that you get from Fell Fissure, your speed reduction into the healing reduced. It's just, those two. And I never use this in duels and arenas, but rated battlegrounds and World PvP, that's like my go-to. And I might change Amplify Curse for freaking Bonds of Fel now. No cap. But Amplify Curse before patch 9.1 for all specs was a mandatory talent for PvP. Curse of Exhaustion, Tongues, and Weakness increase. However, I just want to play with the other talents, so this is like the one I'm probably going to get rid of, just because. But yeah, that's pretty much it for PvP talents for Destruction Warlock. Next up, we're going to be getting into the destruction rotation for single targets. Now, we're not going to be going over potions, on-use abilities, trinkets, PvP talents, so on and so forth. Not everybody's going to have the same setup. This is going to be the standard single target rotation for a Destruction Warlock. So, you're going to want to go ahead and start off the fight with pre-casting Incinerate. You're going to want to cast your Covenant ability on cooldown, maintain Immolate at all times, cast Chaos Bolt if you're about to cap on Soul Shards, cast Cataclysm when available, cast Channel Demon Fire whenever available if talented, cast Soul Fire whenever available if talented, and cast Conflagrate to generate Soul Shards. You're going to also want to cast your Incinerate as a filler to generate Soul Shards, cast Summon Infernal whenever available, cast Dark Soul Instability whenever available if talented, and of course cast Shadowburn at 20% or below whenever available on a boss, or if target will die within 5 seconds if talented. And when it comes to AoE fights or multi-target situations, again, it is pretty much your single target rotation, and instead of utilizing your Soul Shards mostly on your Chaos Bolts, you're going to go ahead and fill in with Rain of Fire, and this is what it would look like. You're going to want to pre-cast Incinerate, cast Covenant ability on cooldown, maintain Immolate at all times, cast Chaos Bolt if you're about to cap on Soul Shards, cast Cataclysm whenever available if talented, cast Channel Demon Fire whenever available if talented. You're going to want to cast your Soul Fire whenever available if talented, cast Conflagrate to generate Soul Shards, cast Incinerate as a filler to generate Soul Shards, cast Summon Infernal whenever available, cast your Dark Soul Instability whenever available if talented, cast Shadowburn at 20% or below whenever available on boss, or if the target will die in 5 seconds if talented, and of course this is when the multi-target abilities will mainly come into play. You're going to cast Havoc with Chaos Bolts on 2 targets, and in anything with 3 targets or above, you're going to want to use your Soul Shards on cast Rain of Fire. Thank you all very much for tuning in to our patch 9.1 guide. Again, as stated in the beginning of the video, please stay tuned for the rest of the guides to come out. Soulbinds, Covenants, Conduits, Legendaries, so on and so forth, and we will be releasing more in-depth guides in specific situations, such as Mythic Keystones, specific PvP situations, such as 1v1 duels, 2s, 3s arenas, of course rated battlegrounds, so on and so forth. So stay tuned, have a wonderful day everybody, please like and subscribe, and catch you all next time.